and let the parsing begin. And I'm one of these guys who, when something happens, like yesterday was kind of big.
Yeah.
And you leave here and you heard Bob for an hour and you started to hear Lacob. And then a day goes by and you start thinking, no. It's really big what's going on.
No, huge.
And that's kind of the way I'm feeling. And just, was anybody else struck by Joe Lacob saying, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I understand why Bob's doing this? He said, it's not for me to understand.
It is.
I think that was a little bit unusual. It was a little bit unusual because from my standpoint, it is pretty understandable. If all sides are telling the truth, Bob Myers wants to spend more time with his family. If all sides are telling the truth, Bob Myers has been here 10, 12 years, and he's worked pretty darn hard, and they got 4 titles, and he's burned out. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing also, I think we got to be on. Joe Lacob thought he could get Bob if he had to get Bob back. I think Joe thought, if I have to get him back and keep him here, I can do that. 888-957-9570 is the number. Couple other interesting aspects of Joe Lacob that we'll get into. But, Goo, what were you hearing?
That last part, and I got to be careful here.
Why?
Because people think you and they know the core of our relationship, the essence of it. I'm 6'3", 240, Steiny. I'm a problem.
Here
if
comes
we got
soda.
Physical. Yeah, well, we start Monday. The box got delayed. My point is, a lot of people try to interpret you talking to me, your tone, what I say back, as being what it is, and we know that it's not that. So this is where I'm going. How can Joe Lacob say into a microphone after Bob has just been through the mental grinder at home with his wife, with his future? Obviously, this is difficult. Joe Lacob just ended that thing saying, I thought he was joking. So I don't know what dynamic their relationship is they have, but it's kind of telling that Joe, here I go, Steiny, tell me if I'm being over, kind of hadn't been taking this serious. And that would alienate me or bother me if I'm Bob. And then when I figure out, okay, when the dust settles, Bob probably don't want to deal with this. And I'm not saying there was stuff, but Joe, Steiny, I don't know if Joe knows how big of a personality, how he can wear on people. And some big dogs don't know that until it's too late. But to say right there at the end, I thought he was joking, that means whatever you were doing, let me watch Three's Company because I ain't taking Bob serious. He ain't walking away from this, but he did. I don't want to say alarming, but I'm shocked that Joe Lacob would use that verbiage.
What I don't get is, why did Joe Lacob say 3 times, I'm just learning about, I just found out today like you guys.
That's the one.
Now,
wow, Joe.
You gotta have an inkling, right?
Joey Lightyears.
Why would Joe Lacob act surprised at this unless he were surprised at this? You know what I mean?
Right.
888-957-9570 is the number. And where do the Warriors go from here? What did you hear yesterday that made you confident? Is there anything you heard yesterday that makes you a little bit concerned? And what did you make of some of the interesting back and forth between Joe Lacob and Bob Myers? By the way, somebody on the YouTube chat saying Bob got fired. No, he didn't.
Yeah, no.
He wouldn't be working this month if he got fired.
No doubt.
Put it that way.
Yeah, June 30th.
So let's go to Joe. Joe's in Alameda. Hey, Joe, what's going on, man?
What's up, Steiny? What's up, Guru?
Hey.
From one Joe to talk about another Joe.
All right.
Let's go. Now, one thing about yesterday, I think we were so much in shock as Dub Nation about Bob Myers, a little bit. I think it was kind of coming down the pipeline, that we did not, we minimized how awkward that exchange really was. I mean, let's just be honest there. The whole father-son dynamic, like, you can really tell that Lacob was sunning Myers the whole way through a little bit. And at the end of it, Myers kind of sounds like he's kidding, but he's like, oh, that's the most compliments that I've gotten in a while, kind of, so to speak. And then at the very, very end, when, you can tell Joe is super confident, right? And so, I believe that he was caught off guard because at the end, you hear that the last awkward exchange there about, oh, yeah, and I'm going to work, Bob Myers until, the 30th. And, Bob's kind of like, oh, really? And Joe's like, oh, yeah, yeah. So I'll listen to what you guys got to say out the air. But, yeah, that was really awkward, guys.
Appreciate the call, Joe, in Alameda.
Interesting.
From Uncle Looney, our one of our main men.
I keep thinking it's the real Looney, but go ahead.
On the YouTube chat saying, rich guys are used to getting what they want.
And wow.
I mean,
and not told no.
The more I think about it, Joe Lacob, I think Joe Lacob's hurt, too. I think he's a little hurt.
That's a good word.
I think he...
Hurt or ego hurt?
You know how when Durant left, we all said, why would he want to leave basketball nirvana? Why would he want to leave this heaven basketball? And I was thinking, maybe it's not heaven for him. Same with Bob Myers. I think Joe Lacob looks at it as though the Warriors are the best franchise in the NBA, bar none. I think Joe Lacob feels like he's proven that as an owner, that this is the best organization in sports. And he just can't believe Myers left. He can't believe Myers left. Yeah. And there is something about, I have no idea what it's like to work for Joe Lacob. I've heard he's tough to work for. Most owners are, probably.
If you look at that presser, you can kind of find out, but go ahead.
No, I'm kind of with you. I think maybe another part of it is Lacob is very demanding. And does Bob Myers really want to go into this next step? Being employed by a guy who's just overly competitive, thinks he can keep this thing going for 10 or 12 more years, and Bob knows that it's going to be really, really, really hard.
And the stars are on the back nine. I'll use a golf term.
What if it's as simple as Bob saying, guys, Joe Lacob is really hard to work for.
When it was good.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly right.
Oh, Steiny, man.
Exactly right. You more confident today than you were yesterday? Do you think the Warriors are still in good hands? By the way, the one thing I will say, if you're a Golden State Warrior fan, let's not gloss over all the interesting other stuff.
Okay.
You gotta love Lacob saying, I don't care about the rules. We're gonna win. That's what we do here. We're gonna win.
Yeah, I
can see a lot of Warrior fans out there. Bob Myers off to the side. If you're a Warrior fan, you gotta love Lacob's confidence and let's say
bravado.
Yes.
Or I could say this, Donnie.
Yeah.
Joe, you're the man. You ain't got to show us. You ain't got to tell us, just show us.